Yeah, I mean, it would be an accomplishment if there are any other candidates, but
Well, you are a good pick. Let's see, by staying in the meeting, I consent. Okay. Oh, thumbs up. Okay.
Oh, yeah, thumbs up. Good morning, everyone. Today is February 8th. And before I start, I just want to welcome Mark McMenemy, the newest member to the Design Review Board. And I want to welcome him to the meeting.
Yay.
thank you.
Okay. This open meeting of the Design Review Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law March 29th, 2023. All members of the Design Review Committee are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. This act allows the Design Review Committee to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation. This meeting will not feature public comment. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Lisa Maselli?
Aye.
Mark McMenemy?
Aye.
And Dave Varon is trying to connect. I don't see him yet. Staff, when I call your name, Lori Connors?
Here.
And Amy Pritzky, I'm here. For presenters and applicants, we don't have any applicants today, so I'm not going to go through that. Today on our agenda, we have the reviewing of the sign guidelines. We have a sign bylaw that we hope to bring forward at the town meeting this year. And these sign guidelines will be going along with that. They won't be presented at town meeting, but we want to have them as part of the guidelines. And I want to thank Lori for pulling those together. And if you wanted to, we could share your screen.
Yes.
Mark, I wanted to mention, and Lisa, usually we're here like till 10 o'clock at the latest. So we start at 8:30 and hope to get through by 10 o'clock.
Right.
Good, because I have a 10 o'clock appointment downtown.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll even get done quicker. Some weeks we have applicants.
Can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh boy. I'm seeing the YouTube and the regular meeting in stereo, which is kind of weird now that I'm screen sharing. So
Do you want me to share
a
the
little
screen?
distracting. Nope. As long as this is going to work, as long as my computer doesn't crash, I might as well just keep sharing. So the changes I pretty much just made to the awning. I added an awning section and a sign section. So it starts on page 18. So I ended up doing some research online about awnings and signs. And so some of this information is derived from the research that I did. Did anybody have any suggested changes to the text?
Oh, I can say I didn't see this, so I can't make many suggestions unless I read it really quickly.
Oh, you didn't read it?
Not this part, not the change. I read the minutes.
This whole section was originally sent to you over a month ago.
Mm.
And I only modified the pictures.
Okay.
So Amy had sent some pictures at the last meeting. So I ended up incorporating some of the new pictures that she had sent.
I had a couple comments. I was just wondering, when I read under awnings, there was a section on historic commercial buildings, and then it talked about the different type of awnings. They tend to look best with the standard slope fabric awning. I was wondering if we needed a couple pictures of those, because when I read that, I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know if it'd be better to have just a couple small pictures with what you're trying to describe.
Okay. So this is your, this one is one of the curved awnings,
Mm-hmm.
and this is one of the sloped awnings.
Oh, okay. Maybe if you can write that underneath it, because I don't know a lot about awnings.
Okay.
Yeah, oops, because when I think of curved awnings, I would think of the actual dome. Like maybe that's called a dome awning, where it's a much more of an arc. Because I'm looking at this and I didn't really notice that until you said the difference.
Yeah, I mean, they could be all different ways, but you can see, you know, it's black, so it probably isn't as distinctive as if it were a more pronounced curve.
Yeah.
But this is a curved awning, and I could do a picture of a more boxed awning too.
And in that picture, just to clarify, the writing that's on there doesn't appear to be on the skirt. It appears to be above the skirt, unless.
Yeah, I was kind of hesitating about using it. I thought it was a good example of a curved awning, which is why I chose it. But then if you also see the neighborhood tavern, it's another example of where the sign is in the wrong place.
Right.
So then I thought, well, you know, maybe this would be a good discussion item as to whether this is offensive or not. I mean, are you really opposed to having the sign elsewhere on the awning? In which case we could alter that language to say, to eliminate the requirement that it must be in the code.
Right. Well, that would take away, because we do have that talks about the drop. That's where the signage is supposed to be. That's already someplace in our we discussed that. So that you would have the number of the building, or the maybe the name of the place would be on that drop. So now what we've done is, if we change that, and you're going to be able to use the entire awning to do whatever you want to write on. So
Right.
how you want to,
that's what I wanted to discuss. I mean, are you opposed to having the writing in here?
well, in these two cases, I don't think they're unattractive. But when you start to open up like if you were to take the one that was striped and you use that whole surface for putting somebody's name on it, I think it would change the look of what the awning is meant for. They are decorative. I like awnings. I'm not against awnings, but and I like this black one. I like the window treatment. I like the place that it's in. I think that looks very nice. It's just two different standards. I mean, how do we limit it? Do we then say, okay, is it 10% of your awning to be covered? You're going to go back to that? Because you don't want to have the whole awning available. Like,
I think so. I think that's what I've seen in other towns, like a percentage.
Okay. So that's the way I would change it then. If you don't want to just have it on the drop, if you're going to have it on the surface, then you have to, do a percentage. I don't know where that resides anywhere in the bylaw, though. Mark, you want to weigh in on anything?
I'm trying to think of buildings in Northville that would have awnings. There's only a couple, right?
Right now.
Yeah, this is a neighborhood tavern. So these two examples are in Northborough. So you can
Yeah,
see
the town,
on
4 West Main Street used to have them. You can see in the old historical pictures, and it looks much better with them.
Right.
We should lead by example, put them on that building.
Once we move in.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of examples in Northborough that I could think of.
Mm.
So that's That's kind of
That's
why.
just when I think of guidelines, I'm thinking of something that's almost like an outline, very short and concise, capturing the spirit of the rule and then referring to the bylaws for this level of detail.
Yeah, we have a lot less detail in the zoning bylaw. So the design guidelines is where we're going into this detail.
Okay, so
So what goes into the zoning bylaw is a standard, it's mandatory. What goes into the design guidelines is advisory. So it's suggestions for how to do it right.
If we're gonna do the 20% of the awning, then I think that would have to go in the bylaws. Because
Yeah, I think that's where we have the requirement that says it has to be in skirt. So let me look.
one thing I've noticed for reading these guidelines for the first time just recently is most people are reading these on a computer screen nowadays. And we have encouraged and discouraged examples, but you can't capture the text of what section you're in at the same time you're seeing what is discouraged or encouraged. So we really should add like awnings encouraged, it's just so, I see examples of vinyl signs in there that say encouraged, where I know you discourage vinyl signs. So it gets a little confusing if we don't add more detail to the title.
I like that.
That's fine.
Yeah, because you're going on to the next page and um,
So it is the zoning bylaw section. The language says awnings are allowed for first floor businesses only and shall not extend above or beyond any top or side edge of the facade, cornice, moldings, or trim of the building to which the awning is attached. Signs are allowed on the apron of the awning only. So we want to change that to a percentage.
That's interesting though, because when we were talking about revitalizing the downtown, they talked about putting the on the old bank awnings on the second floor.
right, but we don't have that many we talked about that earlier. We don't have that many buildings in town that have 2 stories. And we felt that we should keep the awnings to the first level. In this case, it's not, like, I think if you had that building on the corner of South End, Maine, it used to be 3 stories and was a beautiful building. I don't even know if it needed awnings.
What is it, the Whitaker building or something like that?
Could be. But then a fire came and they took a floor down. So right now, an awning, if they put an awning over the front door, would take away the artistic, trim on the door with the broken pediment over it. And it would be you'd lose some of the design of the architecture. So it's hard because we're looking at it to be an overview of all, what's somebody thinking about an awning? What's an awning going to look like? What are they going to put it on their building? And I agree that I think they do enhance buildings. But if I were to look at if we're looking at page 19 and you look at the white building, that's the one on South Street, and you've got those awnings below, what would the building look like with awnings above and the different windows above it? I mean, I think if they were identical windows, that probably wouldn't look as bad. But in this case, you've got three across, large windows down below, and then you've got small ones up above.
Sorry, the sun's moving, so I have to keep
moving. But do you understand what?
Yeah, I'd say usually you would use an awning around the top of a building if you had a flat roof. Texas Barbecue, for example. You notice how ugly that building got when the awnings came down? I mean, that's only 1-story building, but I mean, it is a compensation feature for a flat roof.
But weren't you talking about second and third floor awnings?
Yes, I'm talking awnings, and I'm gonna have to move it a bit, so,
I'll have to find a
yeah,
picture.
no,
We
I'm
couldn't
just
find
saying,
any
when we were
second floor.
talking about funding money for redoing, the building on Main and South, I'm pretty sure I saw an illustration in the paper or something showing an awning on the second floor also.
Do you know where that is?
We'd have to get an example. I drove around town looking for awnings on the second floor and even in Hudson, I couldn't find any.
So
Yeah,
the,
no, I wouldn't think they'd be very common at all.
so Mark, that picture showed shutters on the second floor, but the awning was on the
Okay.
first floor.
Okay. Knew there was something.
All right, thank you. I thought I was getting crazy.
Yeah,
And
well, I
part
mean,
of-
you could have an awning if you were gonna have, you know, second floor balcony or something like that, so, but I guess that would be a canopy, not an awning.
I think that'd be a canopy.
And Lori did add, Lisa, like awnings should not interfere with distinctive architectural features of the building. So that you were talking about the building and the architectural features, so she did add that in.
Okay.
Which is good. I thought there was a lot of detail here. I thought it was a good section. I just didn't know the different types of awnings, so.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely add descriptors under the pictures.
Okay. Is there another like another page that we could put with a different type, like a variety of different awnings, like the curved type, like the straight type, like the one coming out at the angle, just to give people a better understanding of.
Yeah, I mean, I can delete the picture from the neighborhood tavern and replace it with a boxed awning, if you prefer. I don't know of any in the town of Northborough, so I'll have to go to another town.
No, I wouldn't, I think that looks, that's a nice picture. No, what I'm saying is like we talked about it once before, you had it, where it was either like just a drawing, not necessarily on the building, but this is this is the curved one that you talked about that I wouldn't have even noticed until you brought it up. This is a straight, I mean, those type of awnings must have a name. I'm sure a sign maker has them, right? Or the person
I
who's,
should look to see if I could find a drawing. You definitely don't want me to draw these on.
I think your Millbury bylaws had drawings of signs in the different types.
Yeah, the quality of the photocopies through the years have definitely fallen away. So they have pictures. I got the zoning bylaw right here. I don't think that they have pictures of awnings.
And I bet with the
But,
neighborhood tavern
yeah.
picture, it's a nice picture, but you could probably crop out the parking lot and the sign out front to make, so you could fit more pictures on that page.
So this is, I'm gonna figure out where my camera is. This is what their illustrations look like. So they're not the best quality illustrations.
Okay, so for the next meeting, we can just see if we can find either a couple more pictures or illustration with the different.
well, if I could probably, I don't know, I'd have to see them and clean them up if they needed to be cleaned up with Photoshop or Illustrator. But, So-
There are no pictures of awnings in the Millbury bylaw.
right.
It's just signs.
But what you had there was I thought that was a great thing to add to it. I thought we were gonna put something like that on ours too, weren't we? Because you said, well, they're not in the zoning book, but, and we thought, well, maybe they could be in the guidelines book.
I mean, if you want to photocopy these from the Millbury one, we could. Maybe I can find some higher quality that another town has. I'll look.
Medway has really extensive design guidelines. So they might have one if you wanted to start there, or I could look. But I remember looking through Medway once, and I'm like, wow, they have some really extensive guidelines. I don't know if they have the different types of signs and awnings, but they might.
Okay. All right, we'll look at that.
Great.
So do you want to move on to the next section?
Sure.
Well,
Okay, so next we're moving on to the description of signs.
I just had a couple of words that could be taken out. Like in
Okay,
the second paragraph, where it says to increase readability and communicate the message, I had the comma there versus fast. Like, I guess I don't know if you need the word fast in there.
well, I wanted it there because the point is people are driving by in a car.
Yeah.
And so you only have a couple of seconds to grab their attention. So if the sign is too small or too ornate, then they may not be able to grasp the content clearly. So the word fast, I mean, the fast is the important part of the sentence. But if you want to use a word that means the same as fast, but not fast, then I think that's fine.
I just thought it sounded really good too, just saying increase readability and communicate the message. But it's up to everybody else too.
It's particularly important when you're in the highway areas where
Yep.
people are driving by at, 50 miles per hour.
Isn't quickly the word you'd want to use?
say again?
Is quickly the word you want to use instead of fast?
That's
I'm
fine.
sorry, I can't see the screen, so.
Yeah, to increase readability and communicate the message quickly. Yeah,
Is there a way to zoom in on the document? See, I don't know if it's readable for you guys. Maybe because my screen is so small.
It's the sonnets, not the.
Oh, okay. I pulled it up on my computer separate. Dave Varon said he's on. So if Lori, if you could add him.
Okay, let me find them.
increase readability.
I can't see them, but probably because I'm screen sharing.
Yeah, I agree with you, Amy. I think,
I'm gonna have to stop share to see them.
Okay.
I don't see him. He's not there.
Okay, I'll tell him. Yeah, he says, I'm here, let me in. But maybe he dropped off. I said, we can't see you. Maybe she can't see you.
And I never heard the ping either. He might be in the wrong meeting. Let me send it to him again. So hold on.
how about easily instead of fast? And think about that word. Right.
Well, I was trying to say fast. So easily isn't quite what I was going for.
But is that bylaw specifically for, see that, it's a collective, so it's not for just people driving by, people walking, people, the signs that are on the buildings are,
Well, why don't I say quickly and easily?
That's why I just thought leaving it communicate the message. Like, I think if they're on the highway, they'll know they have to, have it. Like, I didn't think it added to it, but I was trying to keep it simple.
yeah. I mean,
Keep it simple. These are guidelines that have become more of an in-depth explanation of our bylaws and kind of lost the focus of what guidelines do. So keeping it simple is gone.
Mhm.
Well, but when you think about it, I mean, it's the sign companies are the ones that are saying to the client, you know, where are you located? Where is it going to be? You know, what's the message? I mean, some of the signs get to be very fancy, which are very hard to read. Other ones, the colors are bad, but they aren't necessarily done by professionals anymore. And some of that's the problem too, is that, you know, since everybody can do it on computers. Hey, Dave.
Why we like the guidelines, Mark, is I don't know if hopefully the developers read them, but a lot of the developers probably don't go through our bylaws. And if they can see a picture
Oh, well,
of,
they got to start because they're shorter.
but these
So-
have pictures.
So what happens is I meet with people early in the process. So I usually meet with the design team, I meet with the property owner, the engineer, and the architect, long before they file with you folks. And they're looking for guidance. So they don't want to waste time and they don't want to waste money. So they want to have a clear understanding about what the permitting authorities want and what design review committee wants. So that way they can design accordingly. So this is mostly for their benefit so that it can lessen the period of time that they're before the various permitting authorities, because they're kind of assured that if they follow these guidelines, they'll be headed in the right direction right from the get-go. So that's the intent.
Say just, you know, what I'm looking at, I mean, I know you've just added these two sections and they're a lot more verbose than the other sections, but I'm saying over 50% of the guidelines now is about awnings and signs. If you were to cut and paste just the guidelines onto 1 or 3 pages.
Well, I
That's
think
true. If you want to make them shorter, then certainly we can. I was trying to make things clear, but it's definitely a lot more detailed than the other sections.
Yeah, and I think it's new. It's new, Mark. You know, we hadn't had it before. So that's probably why we're putting the emphasis on it right now, because we're just adding it. Right, Amy?
Right.
If you look at the two-family design guidelines, you'll see that they're pretty verbose. So originally these design guidelines were written in 2012, and they haven't been updated since. So this is the first update since for 12 years.
And I could share Shrewsbury, when they went through a downtown revitalization, they added probably 10, 20 pages to their bylaws, including stuff like this. You know, they got really detailed on the type of signs they were looking for. And
I didn't realize Shrewsbury had done a downtown revitalization.
yeah, I can share it with you after the meeting. I can forward it to you.
No, it's a joke from driving through it.
Oh, I think they're trying, you know, like we're trying. You have to start somewhere. And by starting, you have to give more details on what we're trying to look for.
Yeah, that's not bad. Okay. Hi, Dave.
Well, I mean, can we go back and do something that's more geared towards the visual thinker, like, you know, contractor that's going to want to just see examples and not read a whole bunch of legalese?
Well, I think if they got these guidelines, they could still look at the pictures. And then probably not read. I'm sure they don't read the whole thing.
Well, you know, the 3 people that will read the awning section, I'm sure.
We could try to get it down to bullets, but I don't know. You could try it, bring it back next time and see what we think.
Well, I say I was, you know, I just started on these things, you know, recently, and of course I took the PDF off the website, so it didn't have this. So I haven't really looked at these sections. So I
Yep.
was focusing on more on the things that apply to almost every building versus just these specialty things. I mean, signs are big ones, but we didn't invent signs. I mean, you look at, just copy Holden's bylaws if you want nice signs.
Yeah, I haven't seen theirs yet.
I haven't seen theirs either. I've driven through the town.
There are a number of examples. Like, for example, the town of Milton, believe it or not, they have an entire book devoted to signs. I think that's overkill, in my opinion.
Well, but it would be
they
nice
have-
to have a short thing saying, refer to our pamphlet on signs and, use theirs. A lot of these are standard or available guidelines.
The town of Milton's are quite old. I mean, I don't think that we want to just take another town's. That's my hometown. I grew up in Milton, and Milton is a very different community with a very different character than Northborough. So I don't think that you should take another community's guidelines and just say, just do this. I just disagree with
No, I
that.
would use the states personally if they had them on signs.
I don't.
So I like having Northborough have their own, like if you see ideas from Holden and you want to email them to Lori to incorporate into our signs, this is the way we've always, Northborough has their own. And I do think Medway, like I mentioned, has a big one, probably like Milton, with signs separate. And this has, in my opinion, I don't know, it has the right amount of wording plus pictures. I don't know.
The city of Framingham is another one that has an entire book pretty much devoted to signs. But once again, that's a city.
Right, but they
Very
probably don't
different
call them
character.
guidelines.
They are guidelines. Yeah, I mean, if guidelines, like I said, are advisory, and standards that exist in the zoning bylaw are mandatory.
Okay, it's 9 and we have to get to the minutes by 9:40, so we'll have to keep going. But Mark, if you want to talk with Lori about it offline, maybe you can set up a meeting. Or you could sit
Well,
down with
I'd
Lisa.
say,
Friday.
yeah, I mean, I prefer to just go through and see, mark up the contradictions or the thing, well, not contradictions, but things that are not clear.
Yep.
Yep.
You could definitely do
Hey.
that and then send it to Lori and she could share it with us.
If you could track the changes in the text directly, I sent it to you as a Word document, so you could do that.
Yeah, you probably noticed that Word documents kind of had too many hands involved in it already.
Okay.
Okay, so should I share my screen again?
Sure.
Gonna say hi to Dave first? He's just floating around out there.
Hi.
One more
Hi,
Jeff.
Hi, Dave. Can you hear us? Can we hear you?
You're on mute.
He's probably trying to mute us.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
It's
Welcome.
not too windy. Yeah, sorry, it's gonna sound weird. It took me 3 different car locations to find one that was, they're still closed, but has Wi-Fi. This island is weird. There's like no Wi-Fi. The bar's closed, they shut the Wi-Fi. So this one's closed but has Wi-Fi. So I'm standing literally on the side of the bar, on a swing of all things, talking to you guys.
Oh, cool. Lucky you. I think we'd all rather be where you are.
And not talking
Sorry,
about signs.
it took me a while to find this, but I had to like walk all over the place to find one that had Wi-Fi. I had no plan for a ride this morning. So sorry about that.
That's all right. I know Lisa has an appointment at 10 though, so I'm like, yeah.
No problem. Sorry about the delay.
So I did get a email. I think everybody got it from Bob Frederico. So he had some suggested changes for this page.
Okay.
So in the second paragraph, this past week's planning board meeting, ultimately the language saying brand name logos should be avoided unless the product mentioned comprises the principal part of the business.
And that's the sentence I'm taking off, right?
So he suggested that we take it off here too.
Why did you take it off though? I saw it on the window signs, but this is just in general signs.
There was concern that including this language in the sign bylaw would ensure that town meeting would not approve any of the changes to the sign bylaw,
That's true.
because they thought that it'd be too controversial.
So
Actually,
if I'm following this correctly, this would be like if a restaurant had a sign that said Coca-Cola on it and the Coca-Cola paid for their sign, that wouldn't be allowed?
Correct.
So this is a Coca-Cola bottle, yeah. Because what's that? Unless it's selling Coca-Cola inside.
Well, they do a lot of, they pay for like the scoreboard at the high school and stuff.
Well, they pay for a lot of those banners just to have their advertising up.
Right.
And some
Like
of
I know in the past, like, and they don't do it anymore for me, but like vendors like Coca-Cola or whatever, or in my case, Toro, Hunter, whoever, used to go up advertising if you put it on, on the side. I got to imagine Coke and Pepsi still do that for restaurants and whatnot. So I think that could be very controversial. I don't know if that still goes on, but I have to imagine it does. And then the other line about, I'm jumping forward where it says, no phone numbers or whatever, or websites on the side. That's kind of touchy too.
Well, I think we're forgetting where that information would be put. Like we talked about it being put on the doorway coming into the building, but not the phone number. I don't mind on a sign. It's hard to say with all the internet stuff, but that the sign, the basic sign that you see on a pole in front of a building should have the business name, logo, an address of the street, and maybe a phone number, but the address of the street doesn't appear on many of our signs right now. And if there's a fire, firemen are going to have to try to find out where they're located.
Right.
And
We're actually, like, we're redoing our sign.
Yeah.
And even on some of our trucks now, we're like, do we even bother with a phone number anymore? Do we just put a website? Because do people even use the phone number? Because most people just go right to a website and grab a phone number from that. And that's kind of one of the things that I'm sitting here fighting with myself with is, do we even bother with the phone number? And even up in our street sign when we're redoing it, I'm debating on that one. Do we even bother putting the phone number? Because everybody goes to the website now.
Right.
I mean, I'm just, do we want to limit people and the choices of what they do? Because as a business owner, I'm sitting here like, do I want to put that on or not? Not to have someone tell me, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. I'm just throwing it out there because that's, I'm literally in this process myself right now.
Yeah, it makes sense. But
I do agree with the address because, especially if it's up at the street. Unless it's on the, but then if we have it's on, I guess it depends where the sign is too, I'm looking around here. Yeah.
Right. It's the location, obviously. If it's on, that's, we talked about the awning was going to have the number of the street.
Right.
But where do we have that listed? Do we have that listed somewhere?
That the awning should have the number of the street.
Yeah, I thought we put that.
Oh, that's in the building code,
It's in the
definitely.
bylaws too.
Bylaws. So,
Because
And
like when
that's
we
the
do every building that comes through us, we make sure there's a number on the building. That's one of the things when it comes through us, we're like, hey, where's the number on the building, etc. Where's the sign duplication? But again, if the sign's up at the street, yeah, that's a great idea, absolutely. I'm just, again, this is food for thought. I'm just throwing it out there in discussion right now.
Yeah,
So we
Yeah,
have in that paragraph 2, sign content should be limited to the individual establishment's name and or place name. However, it may also consist of a logo or icon and the property address. And then, of course, so then secondary signs, which are often mounted to windows and doors, may describe hours of operation, products and services sold, although maybe we should get rid of products and just say services sold and sales information, like 50% off sale or whatever.
right. I agree. I like that, taking the products off. Are you doing it on this page or you're just doing it somewhere else?
It's on page 20, paragraph 2.
When you're making corrections?
I'm doing it on my hand printed copy.
Old way?
The old way, yes.
Thank
I
you.
don't type fast enough to do it on this page.
Okay. And the more I read the first line, I agree with Amy. I think the word fast it's probably not, it's not necessary.
Can I put quickly and easily?
I'll put just easily.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's needed. I mean, I think they just want to communicate their message. I think if they're on the highway, they know it has to be something that you can read fast or quickly or easily. I feel like it's just an adjective that's added, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Because again, Bob and I talked about signs. I think sign size of letters and such, that certain, they know how big the letter has to be at a certain speed to be able to read it well. I think Dave was even on that conversation. So, yeah, I agree.
Okay, so then on that same page, the 5th arrow, last line, he says, it requires fastening into mortar joints and not the masonry material. He says this is wrong, as the mortar is the weakest part of the wall that supports the sign mounts.
Yeah.
So I am going to ask him for some alternative language.
You could just say securely fastened.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, a sign's done under a permit anyway, so he'd be checking it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so maybe I just delete that whole sentence.
Yep, because he should check it.
Mounting hardware for masonry should be, yeah.
Okay, so then the last arrow, last line. Northborough ZBL. I think you mean ZBA. Has
Mhm.
restrictions on all lights for signs. No illumination between midnight and 6 a.m. Oh, zoning bylaw, that's what that means. Okay, so I can delete that last sentence.
Where, I don't see it. Where is it? Is it under sign types or on the last arrow?
It's the last arrow. Sign
Eliminate-
illumination should be turned off when the business is closed.
You want to take that away?
Well, he says, ZBL restrictions on all lights for signs, no illumination between midnight and 6 a.m.
So he's saying it doesn't
Right,
match the
or
standard.
I could just say sign illumination should be turned off between midnight and 6 a.m.
You know, that's kind of a contradiction though, because if we have, say we get a restaurant in town that's open till 1 o'clock in the morning, they're gonna have to turn their sign. I guess they could turn their sign off early.
I looked around once though when we were talking about the 12 to 6 and there's nothing open. Even like Cumberland Farms closes at 11 and Walmart, like since COVID. I don't know if any restaurants in town are open. I don't know what time they close at. If they close after 12 in Northborough, I don't know what the rules are. I know Marlboro goes to 2 a.m.
Well,
But I
they,
know most of the Northborough restaurants are closed by 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the idea of having those illuminated signs shut off after business is closed, I think is a great idea. Because, you know, nobody bothers to look at the signage that's all down Route 20 when I drive back and forth, and there's always signs on all night long. So I don't think anybody even turns them off
No,
at 6. So I think keeping that sign illumination be turned off when the business is closed can go both ways, just as Marcus said. If in fact somebody decided to open a nightclub, they wouldn't be closing at 10 o'clock. Be closing at 1, unless the bylaw says they can't. So
Probably a 24-hour convenience store is more a possibility.
right.
so then we should update the bylaw to match. I think that's what Bob was trying to point out, that the guidelines weren't matching what it says in the bylaws.
Okay.
So if we want the sign illumination off when the business is closed, then we should probably update the bylaws to say the same thing.
Well, I mean, I think that would be easier to understand, right? You shut the lights off when you leave. So,
Right.
anybody else on that, Amy?
Yeah, no, I agree. But do you agree, Lori? I mean, and like, should we update the bylaw? I mean, we're updating the bylaw this year at town meeting. If we want the guidelines and the bylaws to match, maybe we update the bylaw to say signs should be shut off, you know, when the business is closed.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a gas station on Route 9, I'm not sure what their hours are, but if they're open 24 hours and the sign is off, but they're still open, that's weird.
So
Yeah.
that should
And I actually drove through one night in an ambulance at like, well, I wasn't in the ambulance, but I was following it at like 2 a.m. and we were doing the sign bylaws, so I was making note of what lights were on. I'm like, this is pretty crazy. But it was like Richdale Farms and a couple still had their lights on at 2 in the morning, even though they were closed. And there were
Well,
only a few.
Let me ask you a question. Is that exempt Wegmans and all that up there? Because I'm working on all night.
The what?
The Wegmans, BJ's Plaza up there, is that exempt them?
mean-
They're on,
No, I mean, that should be enforced because it's in our sign bylaw.
Yeah, I think,
So when you're plowing, you can see the lights on?
that whole plaza is lit up.
you know, and that's the thing. I mean, that's getting into the dark sky compliance, right? I mean, that helps to enhance following that guideline or that bylaw.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they would just need what, security lights?
Yeah, security lights are one thing, but
That's a good point, though. Wegmans, I mean, they open all night still? They used to be.
I don't
before
know.
COVID.
Yeah, I don't know if they are.
But if we keep it with, should be turned off when the business is closed, then that would cover that too.
Right. Yeah. I do know that through COVID, you could get into Wegmans earlier if you were older, but that would be a 7 o'clock entrance, but there wasn't a 24-hour option during COVID, so I don't know if they continued not having that. Because most of the stores want to have employees.
It closes at midnight according to the Google.
All right, well, I think that will-
Okay.
Okay, so moving on, we get sign types. So this is where we differentiate between freestanding signs, projecting or blade signs, and window signs. And of course, wall signs, which are building-based signs. So then I go into the various sign types and include pictures so people know. So I tried to choose photos that represented the various ways that they can be mounted.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to include the landscaping because of course we're saying that you should include some ornamental landscaping at the base to enhance.
Yeah.
So do you want me to put descriptors? So like, this is a monument sign. I mean, the others are all freestanding signs, just different ways of mounting.
I
Yeah.
would, so, yeah, make it simple so people know. Yeah.
Yeah,
So then, encourage freestanding signs.
yes, encourage, yeah. Mark?
Hmm?
You put encourage freestanding signs or freestanding signs encouraged? Because you're going with the awnings encouraged.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I just say encouraged, yeah, you want to keep encouraged the first word though, so probably encourage and then comma,
I was
freestanding
going to
signs.
do a hyphen.
Yeah, hyphen, good, that works.
So then I can say post an arm.
Okay,
And we're just letting them use for different types of signs, that's all.
right.
Yeah,
So just
Ladder.
when you're doing, saying what the sign is, whether it's a monument sign or a freestanding, John Stone's, which I like, what is that? Is that considered a directory sign or is that a
It's a ladder sign.
ladder? Well, that would be good to put ladder sign because it's got like, oh, Johnstone House.
The
Yeah,
address.
whatever that's called, and I like that sign. I like it all the same, two colors.
Okay, so we're okay with these pictures? All right. Okay, so then we move on to wall signs. So once again, I'll put encourage type in wall signs.
I had some couple simple word changes. I don't know if you want me to just send them to you because we have to keep moving along, or you want me to bring them up, or
Well, why don't you just bring them up so I can quickly make the changes here?
okay. I thought in the first sentence, in the first bullet, arrow, where it says buildings important architectural details, I think important is kind of subjective. I was just taking that out. Or obscure a building's architectural details. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I was trying to take out some of the subjective words because what's important to one person, I don't know. But
yeah,
maybe
significant might be better.
Okay. I will put significant. Anything else?
yeah, and then if you the next paragraph, the very last sentence, in buildings with multiple storefronts, a coordinated approach to signage. I crossed out the next three words is particularly important. Because I did throughout the building, I was thinking when I saw throughout, I felt like it meant kind of inside. I don't
Okay.
know. I just thought it wasn't needed, the three words.
That's fine. Take those out.
And I took out colors may vary to add interest. Not that I mind it, but I didn't want to call attention to it. Because if you look at the signs that you chose, like that Tony Abo building, top right, I liked how the sign was black with the white writing. And I think there are some other buildings in town where it looks nice because it's not super varied. I don't want to say people can't vary their signs, but I just didn't want to call it out where it says colors may vary to add interest. I don't know. I kind of like the way of that building looked with the black sign with the white writing in it all. I don't know. I thought it all looked nice.
No, I agree. Like to see it limited.
Okay.
Because I felt like if it was like red, white, blue, and like it would really, especially downtown, it would take away from the building.
Any other comments on this one?
My only comment is, I forget the gal's name that we hired in is, oh man, she was helping us write these many years ago. She did make a big thing about taking photos from other towns and don't use the ones from this town. And I don't know if that was for legal reasons or not. Like we have, the photos from Tony's and the other ones around here, which I like the photos, don't get me wrong. But she really pushed that we use from other towns. Again, I don't know if that was a legal reason or not, but I just want to make sure, I'm saying it right here. I just don't want us to get into any legal hot water if that was a reason.
Those were when we were talking about discouraged.
Yeah.
Okay. Long-
So
long as
the
we're good.
encouraged, you're giving them kudos and yay, you're doing it right. Well,
All right,
discouraged can be embarrassing for,
Okay,
yeah, so
I
that's a
just
bit of a
want
risk.
any legal hot water, and that's all.
Yeah,
Oh.
no, Judy Barrett had said that.
I
that was
ended
Judy,
up
yep.
just eliminating all discouraged because I figured we'd keep it positive.
All right, cool. All right. I just it was in the back of my head. When it was Judy. That was it. Correct.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. You did
All right.
read that.
Very cool.
Yes, all that wonderful weather hasn't gotten to your head yet, Dave.
No. I still remember things.
All right, so then we move on to projecting signs. So I really like this picture, Amy, that you took that had all of the various projecting signs. So you could see how people can use different shapes and colors. I mean, in this case, they're pretty much all black and some other color. But I thought it was a good display of how people can kind of be fun with the projecting signs. So that was a nice picture.
And you can see like how we're allowing two signs. If you had a main street, you'd pick projecting and wall sign because you couldn't do a freestanding sign on Main Street, so you wouldn't want to.
Right.
Like if we have a Blake Street and you could do this, but not, you wouldn't want freestanding signs blocking the sidewalk.
Right. So are you guys okay with the text here?
I was, but it sounds like Lisa didn't really get a chance to read it and Dave's trying to read it and Mark. But like, I think it's okay, but maybe if they have little something that they want to send you in between the meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine. Can you see that, Dave, on your phone?
It is so small. I can't tell you.
And make it a little bigger.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I can't tell whether it's in this section, but some of the assigned sections, there were a few things that needed clarification, as far as definitions go. I can't see if it's in this section right now, but I can send those to you later.
We do have the definitions in the zoning bylaws.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm talking little words like the word vinyl. I know it occurred in a couple of places where you literally said that it was discouraged or prohibited downtown, and then you showed an example that was encouraged that used a vinyl sign.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, so
I probably brought up vinyl when I added that to the sign bylaw, but like what we're trying to discourage, and maybe it's not, maybe I didn't say it right, is the vinyl like banners that are hung on buildings. Like I don't want to call out, there's a business on the corner of
Right, but a vinyl sign has a broader definition. For example, that ice cream sign right there on the window, that's probably a vinyl sign. It's transferred onto the glass.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we say that that's okay when we
Yeah.
get the window signs.
Oh, yeah, it should
Window
be. I
signs
mean,
are coming up.
yeah, I'm just saying the word as we use vinyl in that sentence wasn't clear.
maybe fabric for banners and hard, what's the hard plastic ones and just the interlit? That are,
Well, I think that's what you meant, like a backlit plastic, sign.
You're talking about a box sign, I think.
Yeah,
what would that material, the substrate, be called?
it's not vinyl.
Well,
Although if it was like a white box that was backlit, you would transfer vinyl onto it for the lettering, because you don't really paint them anymore.
yeah, so I
But
guess,
that's just a backlit sign.
okay,
I'm gonna say what I have is minor anyway.
all right, next. I'm on to moving around, guys, because I have 15 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah, we have to get to the minutes, so.
I don't know if you want to do the minutes because I just got your changes, so nobody's had a chance to review them. So I just sent them out this morning.
Okay. I think Michelle might have sent them out originally, but it was way back in January. Or I sent them to her in January, maybe they never got sent out.
Yeah, you sent me changes at like 10 past 8 last night that I didn't send out until like 8:15 this morning. And then Lisa, you sent me changes at like 6 something last night. So
Oh.
those didn't go out until this morning either.
Right, but if you notice, my email was sent in January 8th. So I originally actually sent them January 8th,
So,
the changes,
all
You-
right, maybe I missed those.
I mean, we could do Amy's if you
but I
want.
didn't know if anyone read them back in January, so if they got forwarded, but I definitely did the changes way back in January. I just wanted to
Can't
forward them again.
remember if I forwarded them or not, honestly.
Yeah,
That was so long ago. But anyway,
right.
maybe we can do window signs.
All right, we'll finish that, like you said, maybe we'll do that the next meeting then if it doesn't really matter. The
Well,
minutes.
I read I mean, I don't get a say on the minutes, but I did read the ones that Michelle sent out yesterday.
Okay,
And there's like 2 comments I wanted to make on them. One was,
Let's just finish the signs first,
okay, let's
and
finish
then I'll
that.
go back. Sorry.
Yep.
Okay, so does anybody have any issues with the text here?
Where are we?
I don't think so. Should not be taped in windows. I love that. Just signs posted. More than 10% cover, that's what we talked about.
I guess I highlighted posted because I didn't know what you meant by posted. So, but it said, so it says not to be
Posted?
taped in the window. So I guess when I first read it, I saw posted and I thought that meant it was taped to the window, but then you follow up at the bottom saying it's not taped to the windows.
Right, not taped. I like not taped. I've seen that. Looks pretty bad.
Yeah, so like you could display, like for example, if you think of Northborough Crossing, when they have sales, they don't tape the 50% off to the window, but they often put them on a like an easel. So it's visible from the window, but it's not adhering to the window.
Mhm.
So the easel is fine. It just shouldn't be taped. So that's what this is saying. So some of these have, window displays. So you could put a little easel here with your sale item. So it'd be like a window display. So that would be okay, but they can't put it on the glass itself.
Okay. I can now see what Mark was talking about with the vinyl. So these stickers could be vinyl, like the Owen and Sage or the coffee.
Right.
And when we were saying no vinyl signs, I was thinking of the vinyl banners that are like hanging from the buildings downtown on the walls. I wasn't thinking about the windows.
Yeah, I think I understood that, you could just say banners though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
or
that's what it is there are some banners hanging from certain buildings, and banners actually are only temporary. So those buildings really should have wall signs, not banners. So it's more of like an enforcement thing than, I guess.
just on these 4 photographs, the lowest one, the Owen and Sage. I'd like to change it out. I'm not crazy about. It's a lot of stuff going on with the decorations on the outside and stuff. Where the other one's got your little nutcracker, which is kind of cool. But we had one in down. I took a couple that were even in, I guess I'm going to call it Chuck Black's area, which is on the other side of Ace Hardware.
Okay, you can
Yeah.
send that to me. I'll substitute that.
I think when I sent the Owen and Sage, it was because it showed how it had the sandwich board. It wasn't blocking the sidewalk. It had the open sign that actually comes in at the end of the night. Like it actually had a lot of different signs, but they were doing it all the right way, even though there are a lot of them.
Well, maybe
But we don't have to leave it. You can do a different one if you want.
I'll go see Owen when they don't have the decorations on it.
It was Christmas.
Yeah, it's just so much going on. You don't really notice the other. You see open. That's the only thing you see is open. as an artist, that's what I'm looking at. Okay, good, yeah, now we're gonna,
That's it.
okay.
That's
Right.
it. Great.
Town,
All right. And like Lori said, maybe people haven't had a chance to really read the latest minutes. So
There was 1 minute that nobody sent me any changes on, so maybe you guys can approve that one.
one,
the second
Uh,
one in October.
not the October 12th or 19th one. The 12th, the 19th doesn't have anything in it, but as discussed.
Were
So
you,
we've got 15 minutes. Mark wanted to talk about what other ones did you want to talk about, Mark?
Well, there was just a couple. I mean, I only read them briefly, but I kind of look to minutes to be a substitute for watching the meeting when I want to know about a particular project. So there are two things that jumped out at me. One was there was an instant where we recommended a type of siding and we said the brand name. And I don't think we should ever recommend a particular brand name. So, or at least not documented in a thing. You know, you could say the equivalent. Yeah, the example was Hardy Board. You know, that's got some negative associations from back in their asbestos days. So we shouldn't actually say the name. We could say Cement Board. It means the same thing. And then the other thing was it was on a different meeting, but we talked. The minutes say that we talked about the square footage of the building.
Can
But
you,
we didn't.
can you tell me, so I can make the changes, can you tell me which meeting you're talking about?
I can't off the top of my head, and I can't get into that screen without losing you guys. So I'll send that to you later.
Okay,
I think it was the first one on the list. Oh, and the other one was the square footage of the building was discussed, but the minutes themselves didn't say the square footage, and that's kind of what I wanted to know. So it'd be nice to include some of that technical detail in there.
I agree with that. Like some of those minutes, like especially October, were very sparse, where it said like a discussion ensued, or I don't have them open in front of me, but I do think we need not like to have every word from the meeting, but there needs to be some descriptions on what was discussed. Because like Mark, I do use the minutes too. Especially even being on the board, sometimes our meetings go from month to month. And if it says we discuss the landscaping or we discuss the signs, but it has no detail, I'll go to the next meeting and say, okay, what did I ask? Did I ask the question that I wanted to? Or, you know, like just some of the details.
Well, that's why I took I got October 19th, no, October 12th done. And it's 2 pages over 1 page. And what I tried to do is what they've done in the past, years ago, that there was some description of what was being said by the individual saying it, so that you can pick up that page and look at it quickly. Because you can look at, now you can look at October 19, and you don't have to go back to the meeting and spend 48 or 50 minutes or more trying to get a feeling of what really was said. Trying to research and go back, which I've spent a lot of years trying to do. It's hard to get into the office. It's hard to find things on the internet. Sometimes it's almost impossible even to pull the YouTube up to find it. So just relying on that being out there, I don't think is enough. I think what helps people, and Mark has just said that, is to get a feeling of what was said and not go crazy. I mean, it is time consuming, and maybe we can help a little bit on the boards, because I know I've sent some of my selectmen reports in now. I'll just give them exactly what I put in my reports. It's got to be helpful to the reader as opposed to just helpful to the person typing. And I think that I didn't know how to send the information out yesterday for the 12th, so I tried to do it as best as possible, but I think you've received that now. And I do feel that the whole reason for minutes is to be able to get an overview of what happened at that meeting. That's what I thought, that's what they were created for. So,
yeah, one comment that I'd like to make is, like Lisa, with your draft, you went into quite a bit of discussion of the applicant's presentation of the site plan. which of course, I don't think that's appropriate. I think it's appropriate to go into comments that you folks make, and you say, hey, I want you to change the siding, or I want you to change the lighting, or, questions you ask for missing items. But if somebody wants to see what the plan is all about, all they have to do is look in the file, and they have that. So the meeting minutes is really, the point of it is just to capture who was there, the motions that were made, the decisions that were made, and that's really it. Because all of these meetings are available on YouTube, like forever. So anybody who wants to get a play-by-play of everything that was said can just look at the meeting. Whereas, like I said, we have so many committees and boards that we do meeting minutes for. So it's just, the time is really limited, and to do a huge amount of detail for every single board and committee, especially when there's no possibility of using it in a lawsuit, because this is an advisory committee, it's not a permitting board. I'd like to give the clerks the leeway of not spending 5 hours during the meeting minutes for this. And
Well,
to capture the main idea.
everything that I said before you went into that addressed everything, and you've just turned it all around saying, no, none of that's important. I understand that having somebody not put 5 hours in to make minutes is important. I understand that. But we can't get into those files easily. We can't get into YouTube easily. We can't find things that you can find easily. And people that are looking for information on what happened in a meeting can go quickly to the website for the town. They can look up agenda, and they can look up minutes. And minutes being clicked on for 2 pages that they can read in about 3 minutes instead of watching a 48-minute show is helpful. And I think that's the way that I'd like to see that. I don't think the fact that maybe it won't be used in a court of law is no reason to keep it important, because we wouldn't have to vote on them if they weren't important. We would just put them up and say, this person talked about that, and that would be all there was to it. So I do think that there's a lot more into the minutes that should be put. And so it helps the reader, and it helps anybody who's looking for it, who's not in the thick of things, to understand. And there's no easy way to go through plans and look at them online, as much as there is a discussion and a description in the minutes for reasons. And they did it in the other minutes years ago, and there's no reason we can't continue to do a little bit better work that way. So that's what I'd like to see. It doesn't have to be as detailed, perhaps. And I think that what we are starting to see is that it's getting so, now I don't know what the other minutes look like. I just know what 2 or 3 boards look like. So I don't get to see all the other boards, but Earthworks and what is it? I just went to Water and Sewer and such like that. Some of those are smaller meetings and less discussion. We don't necessarily have decisions made when we do our design review, because we are advisory. So we ask them to do things, and we need to know what we asked and what they're coming up with.
And I agree, that's important to include, but Amy said this, and then, if there's a half-hour discussion of, well, I think it should be, 10 square feet, and I think it should be 15 square feet, and I think it should be 20 square feet, and then the ultimate agreement is it should be 10 square feet. The important thing to put.
I was kind of looking for just like a 10% improvement, increase in the information, nothing much. The minutes I was looking at said the number of bedrooms was discussed, the square footage was discussed. It's like, knowing the number of bedrooms would have been helpful information. Knowing what the square footage was would have been very helpful, and would have saved me from trying to find the meeting somewhere just to find out that number. 5 to 10% improvement is really all that's needed.
Okay.
I agree too, because even being on the planning board, things go to, before I was on design review, and things go to groundwater and things go to Concom, I read their minutes before our meeting to see, okay, what was discussed? Did they have a problem with this? Did they not have a problem with that? So like the planning board has a rep, so I should say what was discussed, but before that, they weren't. And we don't have a rep from Concom, so it's like, I love to be able to go through and read the minutes versus watching a 2-hour meeting and see, okay, Concom agreed with that, and this is how many acres of wetlands there are, and yeah, like Mark was saying, 10 to 15% more would be really helpful to get more of an idea of what was discussed.
Did you get to read what I sent, Mark? Did you get that this morning?
No, I didn't. What do you mean? I got up and got in the shower and got to this meeting. That's all. I have had one cup of coffee.
I think Lori sent them out. I don't know about Dave, if he got it, but I'd like you to look at the 12th and give me, look at it and decide how it read for you. And then
Okay,
talk about it.
you have to send your comments back to Lori or talk about them at our next meeting. Like, we can't.
She
Talk about
completely rewrote it. So what I would do is if you guys approve her minutes, I'm gonna put her name on the bottom as being the author of the minutes.
Fine.
So they're completely different than what was originally done.
I'm just looking and, Lisa, I did not get yours. I got Bob's, but that was it.
Oh, because I'd asked Lori to send them out to everybody.
I
Yeah, I
sent
might
it
not be
this
on the
morning.
list.
You should be on my list. I added you yesterday.
Hmm.
Let me make sure they left my sent. Yeah, these Amy's went out.
No, I didn't get Amy's either.
Well, maybe you can,
I guess maybe I didn't. Let me.
But hang on, wait, we're talking about Lisa and Amy. I better check my spam.
Maybe I didn't add you to the group list. I just added you to the contact list.
Yeah,
So
that's probably it.
let me send them to you individually. And it looks like, Lisa, yours might still be up in my draft box, so I'll send those out.
okay. And Dave, do you get that stuff while you're out on the boat?
I haven't had email for a couple of days. I've had no internet, no nothing. I'm probably being here right now. I probably got downloaded and God knows how much email for the past couple of days.
Oh,
So I'll probably after this, I'll be going through email for a couple of hours now.
okay.
I just noticed when I looked at what Michelle resent out, which was great, it didn't include my changes from the other, from that I sent out in January. And I know it's been a long time, so I just gotta plug in my computer, it's about to die. I just want to ask everybody if they can make February 29th. That was Lori had brought up. February
You know,
29th.
they didn't tell me definitely that they
Oh.
want to move to the 29th. They just wanted people to leave it open in case they need the extra time. So they should let me know definitively if they want to be on the prior meeting or that one within the next week.
Okay. So you'll let us know.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
All right, I'm gonna have to run. I'm sorry. I don't usually cut out before everything's done, but I will see you at the next meeting.
Okay. I think we're all
Cool.
set here anyways. We're wrapping up.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.